Welcome everybody in the Off the Ball Network fandom and beyond to your now new Wednesday night rituals here on the Off the Ball Network Facebook page and Twitter, and of course our own YouTube page itself. It is the Bunts and Bruises podcast coming to you guys, like we said last week, with season 2 premiering with episode 1, new time, new date of the week. Oh my goodness, everything is changing except the men running the show. As always, your duo leading the ship here, the Iceman, the NHL guru himself, Jurg, wearing blue today, and my guy wearing a beautiful shade of red. Red is my favorite color, by the way. Thank you for wearing it, my guy. He is the Don of baseball himself. He is the SWAT king here when it comes to his takes, and the best pitcher on the mound every single time when it comes to closing the show. The man himself, James Barcia.
How you doing today, Jurg? I'm excited today. We just came off the first week of NFL football. That's just, it was like Christmas in September. It was amazing. Not only that, but you got the MLB playoff race picking up. We'll talk about that briefly towards the end of the show. But other than that, we got another amazing guest, our second guest for season 2, who coincidentally was our first guest for season 1. So, it's just the way the world goes round, and that's it. And it's Bunts and Bruises here on Hump Day, the best day of the week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you start scheduling it. Tell your mom, tell a college roommate, tell your cousins, tell everybody.
And ironically enough, you mentioned NFL Week 1. We are actually going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into NFL Week 1 this week. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for 1 week, and especially with this man on, we have to make the exception. Bunts and Bruises becomes Punts and Bruises for a show, as the man that we're welcoming on is just a genius when it comes to talking NFL football in and of itself. You like that transition there, don't you, James?
That was I wasn't even ready for that corny joke, Jerry. You got to prepare me for those.
Hey, it's got to be spontaneous. It's got to be, it's got to be right there. It's got to be live. It's better live for the people. Speaking of being better for the people, this man right here is a fan favorite of the Off the Ball Network. Anytime you see him on a show, it's just the ratings increase. This is probably going to be the most viewed episode of Bunts and Bruises yet, because this man is coming back on. Like you said, he was the first ever guest in Bunts and Bruises history. This man runs, of course, the Couch Coach Live show. He is the leader of the Overaction Mondays that happen following NFL Sundays here on the Off the Ball Network. He is also leading the CU Sunday show as well, going on this season. This man is just doing it all. And of course, it only makes sense because he is the senior NFL analyst for the Off the Ball Network. Our man, the legend, Couch Coach.
Thank you, guys. What's going on, fellas?
How you doing, Coach? How you doing? It's the last day I could be friendly to you until the end of this week. Then,
Well, the weekend.
No. The weekend, it depends how it works out. I'll let you know on Monday, all right?
Okay, I'm cool with that. But I definitely love the Punts and Bruises. I
wasn't ready for that. He didn't run that by me at all.
I like that. That was clever.
There's your episode title name, James. I got you.
Literally. But as always, we're glad to have you back, Coach. Speaking of clever, since we were talking about the clever jokes, we're going to just get back to it because, we did the people a disservice last time you were here. Last time you were here, we didn't have this segment created, but now we have it created. And, of course, everyone wants to know more about you, Coach. We need to hear about Salt and Pepper Gang. So what other better way to do it than starting off with getting to know you with our favorite Couch Coach? Just to remind the listeners, the rules are Coach has 5 questions with 3 multiple choice answers for each of them. He's going to ask us the questions, and then we're going to pick our answers. He won't tell us the answers there, but once we go through all 5 questions, we will repeat it, and then he'll ask questions, we'll give our answers, and we'll see who wins. So far, I believe I'm beating Jurg by like an outstanding 3-1. Hopefully, I don't blow it like Golden State does.
You're not. This is going to be a manslaughter tonight.
You never know. I feel like Coach is about to pull up some crazy thing like, what was my best high school sack game? How many touchdowns I threw? I don't know. Coach is an interesting man. Salt and Pepper Gang. But without further ado, Coach, you can go ahead, take the lead from here.
All right, so my first question, I share the same birthday, so day, month, and year of this famous NFL quarterback. All right, so one, Vince Young, Alex Smith, or Brady Quinn?
Fun fact: I share a birthday with Eli Manning. Not even kidding.
Interesting.
January 3rd.
Speaking of that,
Nice.
speaking of that, bars, I also share the same birthday as a former Giant Super Bowl champion of your 2011 team. Is it Steve Weatherford, Chris Canty, or Will Blackman?
All right, so that's 2 birthday questions we just got. All right, well, what was the first 3 options?
Coach said you guys better remember my birthday going forward.
But I looked it up and it was just very fascinating. It's extremely fascinating. That's why I'm like, so I was like, yeah, let's look that up. So my third question is,
whoa, Coach, we're not that good.
Oh.
Hang on.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Run the options for question 1 first for me again.
I need you
sorry.
to repeat question 2, actually. Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. So question number 1 is, I share the same birthday as an NFL quarterback. The options are Alex Smith, Vince Young, or Brady Quinn.
Okay, I got that one.
And then question number 2 is, I share the same birthday as a former Super Bowl champion of the 2011 New York Giants.
Taking a guess.
Will Blackman, Chris Canty, or Steve Weatherford.
Weatherford was the punter, right?
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Woo! All right, what's question number 3, Coach?
Question number 3. This current NFL player attended the same high school I went to. Is it Russell Wilson, Cleveland Farrell, or Mekhi Becton?
This would be way easier if I knew where you went to high school.
It'd be a lot easier if we remembered where any of these guys ever went to high school, because once they get to college, that's all we know.
Even then. All right, I'm ready for question 4 if you are, Jurg.
All right. My first ever radio appearance was during what sporting event? NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, or the NFL Draft?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
It's a good one. I think I know it, though. That's the most confident I feel. I'm going to star that one. That's how confident I am.
Oh.
Okay.
Ready for 5, Coach.
All right, ready for the final one. So
yeah.
my favorite television show is Sports Center, The Jump, or The Young and the Restless.
Yeah, the Restless.
You look like a young and restless guy. Look me in the eyes, Coach. No, I'm kidding.
Me in the eyes. No, that's your talent with cars, not TV shows. If Coach had a Cars question, I'd be screwed.
I'm gonna go with that.
Thank you, Coach. You got me a chance. You gave me a chance here. You gave me a puncher's chance.
All right, I'm good. You good, Jurg?
Oh yeah.
All right, Coach. If you want to go through question 1, repeat the answers, and then we'll give ours.
So, question number 1 is, I share the same birthday as an NFL quarterback. All right. So you want to know the answer?
Oh no, we guessed. We guessed it.
Okay. Okay. Who you got, Jurg?
I have Brady Quinn because I think it's the funniest one on that list. Ironically enough, I just think it's because think about it. We know Vince Young, amazing college quarterback, right? Alex Smith, #1 overall pick, and there's Brady Quinn. I think it'd be the most unique one. So I'm going for luck. I'm going for dumb luck tonight, boys. I'm hoping it helps me.
What you got, Bars?
I picked Alex Smith, but I really liked Brady Quinn, but I'm gonna stick with Alex Smith.
Okay. All right. So the answer is Brady Quinn. Yes. October 27th, 1984, and I also share the same birthday as Kelly Osbourne.
That's awesome.
Fun fact.
That's awesome.
Yes. All right. So, question number 2. I share the same birthday as a former Super Bowl champ from the 2011 New York Football Giants.
I went with Chris Canty.
We'll circle back to Kenneth's comment come time.
That's why he hasn't been a guest yet. It's okay.
That's why he's here. That's why he's here.
So yeah, I'm gonna ignore Chris Conti as well. Well, no, I'm gonna ignore it because I want to try to not have the same answers as James here. I don't want to protect my lead. I want to try to expand it. So, Blackman and Weatherford. It's interesting. I'm gonna go with Will Blackman. I'm gonna go with him. Just okay. I feel good. Tell me I'm wrong, Coach.
Jurg, you're right. Yes. Will Blackman was also born on October 27th, 1984. Yeah.
Backs against the wall right now. It's all right.
Yes. 0-2.
My first ever multi-question lead in this. I'm proud.
All right. So question number 3. That was the so this is the next question. This current NFL player attended the same high school I went to. You need options as well again.
Run the names again.
For the people.
Russell Wilson, Cleveland Farrell, or Mekhi Becton.
I went first last time, Jurg.
No. I don't think it's Russ. So it's got to be Farrell or Becton. I could be wrong. I think I could have sworn one of them was a South Florida kid. I guess I'm wrong because I like Coach. You know this as a college football fan. A lot of these kids come out of South Florida, so I feel like one of them is a South Florida kid. So I'm kind of stuck here. I'm gonna go with Becton. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go with Mekhi Becton.
Okay.
I'm going with Farrell.
Okay. Actually, these guys are a part of the Richmond, Virginia high school scene. Jurg, you are right. Mekhi Becton went to my high school, Howland Springs High School, 15 South Oak, Howland Springs, Virginia, 23075. Shout out to Mekhi Becton.
Shout out.
And get well, big fella. Get well, big fella.
Absolutely. That was a big loss. That was a big loss for the Jets. That
big really time. Yes.
You know,
Jurg, you're 3-0.
I got nothing to say.
Question for Coach.
Question number 4.
Collusion going on here.
Question number 4.
Ignore the sulking one. Go on to the next question, Coach.
My first radio appearance was during what sporting event? The NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, or the NFL Draft? Pardon me.
I picked the NFL Draft. That's my start answer. I'm probably wrong with the way my day's been going. So.
I always get caught on these, and to continue the tradition on this show, I'm gonna get caught on this one. Him putting the NBA Finals there, I feel like there's a reason because we know Coach knows his football. We know that Coach knows his football, but he dabbles in the other sports as well a little bit. I got him into hockey last year, so one day Coach will be talking Stanley Cup Finals, and I'll hopefully be right there with him. So I'm gonna run with the NBA Finals on this one.
Okay. Actually, it was the NFL Draft. I actually was a part of a mock draft for actually one of the local affiliates here in Virginia, ESPN 950 in Richmond, Virginia. And yeah, totally nerded out. It was funny. It was at a sports bar, and it was a woman around. And, you know, we had a bunch of us guys in jerseys looking like we were at a Comic-Con for NFL Draft. So the lady was like, "What's up with all these guys? What's going on here?" I said, "We're doing a mock draft." Out there, like we're doing a mock draft. So
that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. All right, and then the final one. Favorite television show? Is it Sports, The Jump, Young and the Restless?
I know you're looking at me, James. I know. I will go first. Don't worry.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
I'm going to run with Young and the Restless. That's another one where it's like I want to go with that one for fun, but I'll say The Jump. I feel like Coach. You know, when Coach goes into work, he needs to listen to a little something, and I think The Jump is the perfect thing.
I had The Jump, but I already lost, so I'm going with Young and Restless now.
All right, the answer. Bars, you're right. This is what happened when your great grandmother raises you, and you only have one television. This is I know y'all young, but I'm telling you, when back in the late '80s, early '90s, when you had a grandmother that only had one television, that's the only thing you could watch in that house. So I was forced to watch Young and Restless, and it carried on to my adulthood. So That's what happens.
I think that says more about the show than you, Coach, because that show's been going on for like 100 years or something. I don't know what's going on over there.
Correct. Yes, it's been on for a while. It was a staple in my great grandmother's home, So, and I was forced to watch it, and then grew to love it. So
that's awesome.
That's you and Stephen A. got that hand in hand because he tried making appearances on, I think, his General Hospital. No, isn't it Young and Restless?
General Hospital.
No, he's made appearances on General Hospital. Yeah,
General Hospital. Yeah, yep.
That's great. But speaking of Stephen A., he's usually the analysis on ESPN, but we got the better. We're just going to completely ignore the fact that Jurg just won and beat me 3-2. And we're going to go ahead and move on. So once again, Coach, thank you for joining us, of course, here on Bunts and Bruises. Now on Wednesday, 7 p.m. for everybody that just joined. And what better way than to start talking about NFL Week 1 than with the senior of football for Off the Ball Network. So we're going to start off the rip. First question. We already know it's probably going to take up half the show, but as your fellow NFC East fan and as your opponent on the other side of the field tomorrow, first question I have for you is, especially after the injury to Ryan Fitzpatrick, who do you believe that tomorrow's game is more important for? Because both teams are going in 0-1, and history shows already that when you start the season 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs are slim to none. I believe the percentage is literally somewhere around 5% or something like that. So who do you believe tomorrow's game is more important for? Your Washington football team or my New York football Giants? I know. It's an intense question, Coach. We might have lost him because of the internet, guys. So bear with us. I'll just jump right in. I personally think for my New York Giants, it's actually a little more important for this game. And yes, you might say it's just because of bias. I understand. But the main reason I believe the New York Giants need to win tomorrow is this is a completely franchise-altering game tomorrow. If they lose this game tomorrow, honestly, you can just count them out for the playoffs. And the whole point of this season, the whole point they spent all this money was for the New York Giants to make the playoffs. After week 1 and this preseason, I'm not feeling confident in this team at all to let alone win a wild card, let alone the division. I feel for the Washington football team, they have a little bit of an excuse with Ryan Fitzpatrick getting hurt. It's a season-ending injury specifically. It's something about his hip. But before I continue off my point, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to you, Coach. Just like Fitzpatrick, you just disappeared out of nowhere. So who do you believe is more important for the game to win tomorrow?
Yeah. So I was only out for 6 to 8 seconds now, so get it right. But in theory, I think the Washington football team, this is so important for them. You got to think about it, just the schedule and the gauntlet that they have going forward. You rest up after this game tomorrow night. You got to go to Buffalo, even though, they did lose to Pittsburgh last week, but they still is a formidable team. Then you got to go to Atlanta, which you don't know what you can get out of Atlanta. Then you come home to New Orleans, who was a surging team. And then you got Patrick Mahomes for your next, 4 to 5 matchups. So you look at this situation where you could potentially, fall into an 0-3 going into the month of October. And a team that's aspiring as a Washington football team to make the playoffs and win the division, you're not going to do that at 0-3.
For sure. So as I was saying with my point before we lost you, I think it's more, it could just be, fans talking for their teams, of course. That's why we're going to pass the baton to Jurg, of course. But I believe it's actually more important for the Giants just due to the fact that this could be a franchise-altering game right now. If they lose going 0-2, they're clearly most likely not going to make the playoffs. And just like Washington football team, we don't get into the gauntlet like you guys do immediately. But we do have a couple games coming up right after you guys. We got the Falcons, like you said. You don't ever know what you're going to get with them. Yes, the Eagles just beat them, who everyone thought was going to be the worst team in the division. Here they are sitting at first. But you can also get the Falcons where they'll throw 40 points and play decent defense for once. The Saints, they just beat the crap out of the Packers. So, most likely it ain't looking good for us. Then you have another division game in the Cowboys. And after that, you have the Los Angeles Rams. So realistically, I could see my Giants being, what is that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And going into the middle of October. So it ain't looking pretty, especially when you spend all this money and had all these aspirations for you had spent all this money and had all these aspirations to make it into the playoffs. And so you get a little concerned because I'm having flashbacks of back in 2015 when the Giants made the playoffs due to the fact they spent all that money on defense. And unfortunately, it was the only good part, and the defense wasn't even that great to even win them one playoff game. That's why I feel it's a little more dangerous for the New York Giants. Jurg, go ahead, be the neutral side here. Tell us who is really, a little more in danger than the other team. Because realistically, any team that goes 0-2 is not looking pretty.
James, I love you, and I want you to know that for my comments, I'm sorry. But no, if there's a team that has more to lose after this next game, it is quite easily the Washington football team. The Giants could start out the season 7-0, and I would still expect them to miss the playoffs after losing 10 straight. That's just myself personally. Don't take it personal. I also feel that way about some other NFC East teams. But honestly, when it comes to why this game is important for Washington, Coach said the biggest point right here, where you have to look at the schedule after the Giants game, right? So let's go past Thursday Night Football, no matter the result, right? Moving past that, you have the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, right? Then you have the Atlanta Falcons. Like you said, wildly inconsistent team. It could go either way when it comes to them. The New Orleans Saints. I know everyone is riding high off of week 1. They're a pretty inconsistent team to me still. They lost so many pieces in the offseason. Lattimore, I know he got his contract, but did he not get hurt in that first game, or is he not hurt for the time? Unless it's another one of their defensive backs I'm thinking of right now. But there's someone hurt on that defense as well. Jameis Winston, while he had the 5 touchdowns, he had less than 200 passing yards. Like, that is field positioning. That is the wonderful skill work and, offensive schemes of Sean Payton right there. Jameis ain't going to do that every single week. So you have the New Orleans games. Then it's the Chiefs game. And that automatically becomes something. And then once it's late October, it's the Packers game. Say what you will about what happened in week 1. Make your jokes about Aaron Rodgers is going to leave for Jeopardy soon. But Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. And come that game, Green Bay should have their stuff together. At least they better. And then after that, you get a little bit of a respite in Denver. But that defense is still very talented. We all agree they're talented. And then you go into another hard part of the schedule of Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Seattle. So really for the Washington football team, like this is literally the do or die game to where they need to start building up good momentum now to lead them into these future games. Because like, Of all the games I just mentioned, the Bills game, the Chiefs game, the Packers game, the Bucs game, and the Seattle game, of those 5 key games, if Washington is going to realistically make it as the NFC East champions, they need to win at least 3 of those 5, to give themselves a cushion. If they go 2-3, that's fine. But if they could get 3 of those 5 somehow, that'd be even better. So this is obviously more important for Washington, especially because Fitzpatrick went down. And so they're going to need, good old Taylor, Hennessy, Johnny Walker Blue, Heineke, yes, to play well. And this is going to be that game that gets him in that rhythm with the offense. So I think easily this one belongs to Washington. In terms of what this could mean, there's only one thing at stake for the Giants in this game, and that is not going 1-1 now to give yourself a chance for the rest of the season. It is Daniel Jones's undefeated streak against the Washington football team in his career. It's like the Undertaker streak. Will it be over or will it continue? That is the question for the Giants here. But no, easily the team with more to lose for what their season was supposed to be coming in, it's Washington.
Yeah. And you want to know an interesting other stat too, Jurg? Now I'm a UNC guy, and Dan Jones with the dude. He beat us every 3 years that he was a starter. He beat us every his sophomore, junior, and senior year. So I'm 0-7 against Daniel Jones.
He's been getting you for 5 years, Coach. Oh no!
Correct.
You want to know what's the best part? If my Giants do lose, and most likely we will. I'm not going to be that much of a fan. We're probably going to lose tomorrow. I hope we get the number 1 pick because that means our whole season's down the drain. And the best part of all of this was I'm hoping we take your guy, UNC, Sam Powell, if I pronounce his name wrong, but whatever. Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and he's gonna be right there, and you're gonna get to watch him twice a year, just on the other side Also, shout out to your Tostitos bag back there, Coach, because I got the same one except the
Oh,
giant
yeah.
blue.
Yeah. This one tastes better.
Full disagreement on the podcast tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, NFC East versus everybody.
Can't argue that one. Can't argue that one. But honestly, I think the best part about tomorrow, I believe, is, Coach, I just want your quick opinion on this before we move on to the next question is, how are you panicked, or do you feel comfortable with Taylor, Tyler, Hennessy, Heineken, Enchilada, whatever you want to call them? Because
Actually, I am comfortable with Taylor. I think even in that game against Los Angeles, pardon me, you look at he was comfortable. The thing about it is how he's going to be able to sustain that play. Like, to me, it was tough. It was gritty. It's almost like his hair was on fire. But in theory, in reality, how long is that going to last until defenses catches up to it and kind of figure it out? Because a lot of stuff, I mean, he did what he had to do with that offense to kind of keep it moving. Fitzpatrick was a little pedestrian in the time that he was in there. And I think he was kind of slowly getting into a groove. But I think Taylor's situation is, I think you really can't play that type of way. It's almost like he's like a poor man's Brett Favre. And it's just one of the things where it's like, I mean, he scrambles out, he a little erratic in the pocket. I hear one little throw to kind of like a little dab like this, and I'm like, like I'm a little leery, but I'm comfortable at this particular moment. I just know one thing: if something happens to him, I mean, it's doomed, because I mean, then you got Cal Allen, and then we signed Pat Schumer's son, your boy, your old coach.
Your boy.
I mean, your boy Pat Schumer. We signed his son, little Cal.
He stopped here for a cup of coffee. That was it.
Yeah, right. Boy. A cup of coffee and some extra sugars. But I mean, I'll put it this way: today was the day, September 15th, 2021. I'm comfortable now. A few weeks from now, I might be like Cameron Newton.
I was about to say, because you even in the offseason were saying, hey, Heineke might be the guy even next year after Fitzpatrick leaves. You felt comfortable handing him the reins. So I'm curious if you still feel the same way now that the reins are being handed way sooner than planned,
Yeah, because he was supposed to be our 2022 guy, and I figured he would have an opportunity more to kind of develop and kind of study a little bit more under that. But we're going to find out. But I'm comfortable for him at the present time. I just hope the only thing that scares me is just that potential of him just, as far as eluding the, outside the pocket, getting hurt. Because those type of plays, it's like if somebody get a clean hit on them, it might get ugly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so we're going to move on from the NFC East now. I think we've given everyone their fill. But for more incredible Washington football team talk and potentially even more discussion about Cam Newton opening up in the recent weeks, or Taylor Heineke being the next, coming of, insert great name of great Washington quarterback right here, make sure you watch the Washington Football Guys podcast that Coach is a part of, along with one of our OTBN compatriots who will be on the show one day. Cruz.
Yes, Cruz.
Him and Bars going at it on the show one day. Oh, it's gonna be good.
He's a tough man to schedule. He's
magical. Yeah.
It is going to be magical. It is. Cruz, don't worry, you're gonna be on the show one day. But
yes.
Moving on from that, let's focus a little bit more on other teams now and other players. And honestly, like maybe for you guys, the conversation may stay here because this kind of question relates a little bit to both the Giants and the Washington football team. Rookie wide receivers. Coach, if there's one thing that week one of the NFL season in particular brings, it's the excitement to see the rookies. And we also have another rookie question here after this one. But I want to go with the rookie wide receiver question here first, Coach. Of the assortment of rookie wideouts that made their debuts for their teams this week, which one were you the most either impressed by with how well they did or surprised by where I had my expectations were a little bit higher here and it didn't quite meet?
I think the one that really stood out was Jamar Chase. I think when you look at just the simple fact of the whole offseason situation with him still playing with the college official football and saying like he had an issue with it. And I literally thought it was a joke until like other wide receivers have had that same type of issue. You know, I thought it was just nothing. Like that just don't make any sense. But I think Michael Irvin was saying like he had to go and actually see an eye doctor. I mean, he had to actually see multiple doctors because of just the difference between the footballs, because he was thinking he was losing his eyesight or whatever in that predicament. So for him to come out and have 100 or 105 receiving yards and then end up having a touchdown, and think about it, he hasn't played football in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing too, where you're like, that's pretty impressive. Like for him to put up those type of numbers, and just a lot. I think just this whole rookie class. I mean, they did some pretty good. They had some pretty good games, and you think about even in the sample size as far as receptions, but those receptions was huge. I mean, you look at the other ones. You look at like Devontae, Jalen Waddle, like what they did, and a sample size of reception that they have. And they still was able to put points on the board for their team. So this class is I think it's gonna be definitely interesting. It's gonna be definitely something that we can watch week in and week out.
For sure, Coach. For sure. James, I'm gonna run to you after this one. I just want to get my guy in here really fast. So my pick for my rookie wide receiver that I was most impressed with this week, Coach, is actually Rondale Moore from the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Because my thing with him is that when he was selected in round 2, it was a bit of an interesting selection because the Cardinals going into the draft, like they had a pretty deep wide receiver room, all things considered, even with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, we still don't know what the case is. Like a lot of people think he's retired, but like I've heard the idea that maybe he's just skipping out the first couple weeks and then comes back like halfway through the year just so his body's fresh. Heady play, by the way. But when you think about it, it's DeAndre Hopkins. It's funny enough, we're talking about a Bengal wide receiver, AJ Green, being on that team now. From previous years, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, like that's a pretty deep receiving core that Arizona has. And for Rondale Moore to come out week 1, 4 catches, 68 yards, that's pretty impressive. But the key to me, Coach, of why I was impressed, 60 yards after catch. Yak. You know, it's a stat a lot of us love. And those 60 yards after catch, like this is why it's so key, because for the Cliff Kingsbury offense to succeed, they need to be dynamite. They need to be dynamic. They need to be lethal. And Moore having that kind of performance, if he can get a rapport with Kyler Murray early, he'll have a sneaky good rookie season here where he'll put up like 700 to 700, 800 receiving yards, a couple touchdowns here. Like that could be a big thing for this Cardinals team as they are in one of, if not the most competitive division in all of football this year. So I was highly impressed with the rookie game we saw out of Rondale Moore for, again, game 1 out of him. It just impressed me. James, complete the trifecta. Who were you impressed by, or are you going to go the other way? Are you going to go with a wide receiver that you wish you could have seen a little bit more in their debut?
No, I'm going to go ahead and keep the spirits up here. I'm actually going to go for a receiver you both mentioned. I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. He actually surprised me. He didn't have a crazy good game, but he did have a good game. He had, hang on, I just had it. I'm not wearing my glasses. You guys know the situation. Either way, he had 6 targets. He only caught 4 receptions, but he had 61 yards and a touchdown. What really surprised me, though, is when I was watching the highlights of the game from what I saw in Red Zone is the way he played, because you always heard coming out of the draft, he was like a Tyreek Hill, but stockier. And he really showed he was more than – now, I'm not going to say he's better than Tyreek Hill, but coming out of the draft, he looks better than Tyreek Hill. He has a cleaner route tree. He actually played he played bigger, like everyone said. He was taking and breaking tackles, and I wasn't expecting – him to exactly be how he looked. I thought he was going to be kind of more like a Henry Ruggs, who just unfortunately hasn't panned out yet in the NFL, because not only is he getting these comparisons, he did have a great year in Alabama, but like Jamar Chase, he hasn't played football for a year either. And he just came off from a foot injury, and it was a pretty big foot injury he came from. So the fact that he caught a deep reception for 36 yards that just set up the field goal right before halftime, and it was all the little things, and he off the movement, off the motion, you couldn't stop him. He was on fire, and it was good to see him take full advantage of Will Fuller's week 1 suspension, and he should return week 2, but hopefully Jalen Waddle has cemented himself in a position to keep getting those targets.
Alabama and SEC wide receivers overall, man, they're making an impact in the NFL here.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. But, we were all impressed by the rookie receivers here, and plenty of more to come, if these guys continue. Like you said, Coach, with Jamar Chase himself having that big first game for himself. I think he needed that for confidence. Same with Jalen Waddle and Rondell Moore potentially finding a role here early on with Cliff Kingsbury. There's something for all these rookies here, and even the ones that we haven't mentioned that we're going to get to and that I'm sure we'll, look back upon in later weeks. Like some of these guys are going to carve out roles for themselves, and that's going to be the interesting portion of it. But let's keep the conversation going with rookies a little bit here, and let's talk about one of the rookie quarterbacks at least that made their debut. Of course, we know Trevor Lawrence had his debut. We saw a little bit of Trey Lance and Justin Fields, and of course Mac Jones started. But what we want to key in on here is the guy who faced his predecessor this past weekend, and that is Zach Wilson going head-to-head with Sam Darnold in Week 1. Now, stats don't tell the whole story here. I'm going to read off the stats just so that people know what both guys finished with. So ultimately, Zach Wilson finished going 20 for 37, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Sam Darnold went 24 of 35 for just a hair under 280 passing yards. He had 279. One touchdown, 0 interceptions. James, I'm going to throw it to you first on this one. Who ultimately got the better of that matchup, aside from the win, obviously? Who looked better there between the two guys? Did the Jets make the right decision here?
Well, let me tell you, there was no one I was rooting harder for than Sam, because that was his Super Bowl right there. I said it the moment he won the game. He could not win another game for the rest of his career, and he is happy with that one win against the Jets. But Zach Wilson, man, as much as it pains me to say it, he looked really good out there, specifically on that last drive that he had. I forget who it was, but he got sacked by Short and someone else, I believe, just absolutely ransacked. Like, no one guarded them. 600 pounds total weight just slammed into him like a truckload. And you were concerned for a second after he got hit. You saw his helmet bounce off the floor, and you could see it on TV after those two guys hit him. He's not as big as he makes himself look. He's a little smaller frame, but he got back up, man, and he went down the field and threw a touchdown. And that's exactly what you want to see. That's the number one thing you want to see from your quarterback, is be able to shake yourself off and then continue moving forward. And there was just some throws he made. Don't get me wrong. Sam, he looked great still. Just the thing is, Zach Wilson, he was working with a lot less than Sam Darnold was. So you got to really wonder, is Sam Darnold, not even wonder, at this point, Sam Darnold's never going to reach that ceiling that he had coming out of the draft. Zach Wilson, though, if we're both comparing them coming out the draft, Zach Wilson's ceiling, it's looking a little bit higher than Sam Darnold's was coming out the draft. So let's see what happens. But in my personal opinion, I think Zach Wilson had a better game. And, hey, maybe the Jets made the right choice. Hopefully they don't ruin this one.
Coach, how did Zach Wilson impress you? Because, like I said, three of the rookies started in Week 1, and two of them got a little bit of time, but not that much. So from what you saw in Zach Wilson, how good did he look in his debut?
I mean, to me, he looked pretty good, considering the fact that pretty much most of the snaps, they threw the kitchen sink at him, and he was able to do quick releases. He had a couple drops, but that's not on him. But to me, he threw the ball efficiently. He threw not well efficiently, but more so he got it out in time. And to me, I like going forward what this team will be, because and 20 for 37, you'll take it for his debut. He's going to have days like this, and this for him just to keep stay strong and just continue what he's doing, because to me, he got the ball off right in good time, because they was really, they was throwing the kitchen sink at him. You look at it, and he was able to kind of get the ball out in time before before the sack or what have you. So I'm really impressed with what I've seen from him at this point. I'm definitely even the flash like him and Corey Davis. I think that's going to be a nice that's going to be a nice connection going forward. I think that's going to be one of those ones you're gonna that we're gonna really look at as a potential not a top duo, but an elite, not an elite, but more so just a duo that we're gonna that you'll be watch and you'll look forward to. But yeah, he looked pretty good. considering the fact that obviously what we thought of the Jets, we didn't really think, we thought the Jets was going to be like a team that's, not a doormat, but more so they were going to be entertaining because I call them the Sunday pass type team. You know how the NBA, they have the league pass team.
Yeah.
It's interesting how all that's going to come into play. But I was impressed. But obviously Sam Darnold, I think he had the better of the matchup, but it's considered because obviously he has better weapons around him. He had a good offensive guy and Joe Brady's OC. He looked very polished, and consider the fact he's been in the league for his fifth season, fourth or fifth season?
Fourth.
Yes, fourth season. So he did look polished. So yeah, but I'm really impressed. If I'm a Jets fan going forward, I'm encouraged. His first game to have that, and almost had a shot to win this football game. So
right.
Yeah.
I think for both teams, you can be happy with what you saw from your quarterbacks, because I think focusing on the Jets here for a second, I think with Wilson, he really settled in after the first half. And like you said, Coach, and this is a thing for all rookie quarterbacks, not holding the ball too long, not getting, not cracking under pressure and getting the ball out properly, hitting your guys. Him and Davis had the good connection in that first game. I think Davis is going to be one of his early go-tos. It was only for one catch, but like a 40-yarder with Denzel Mims as well. There's some potential there for what the Jets could do. And Zach Wilson looked a lot better in the second half too. Like he played with a lot more confidence, and like you said, the game got close. So I think if you're the Jets, like Zach Wilson, for a lot of people questioning the selection of if they should have gone with him at their pick, I think overall Zach Wilson does have a realistic shot here to prove a lot of people wrong. And it literally in game one, like you'll take that stat line. The fact that he didn't completely collapse, and like James mentioned, the play where two of the Panthers defensive linemen got to him, like you're just happy he didn't lose his head on that play, honestly. Right. So, and with losing Mekhi Becton as well during that game, so just pretty good, all things considered, for the Jets, and also for the Panthers. Really fast, like I think you saw what you wanted: efficiency out of Sam Darnold. Him and McCaffrey getting to know each other very early, which is going to be a key this season. Him and Robbie Anderson also connected well on the touchdown. And DJ Moore had a pretty good game as well. I think like 6 catches for 80 yards or something along those lines. So I think overall for both teams, it was very good. A very good day. For the Jets, if they think this is their quarterback of the future, he showed some flashes in this game. And for the Panthers, if you think you can unlock in Sam Darnold what couldn't be unlocked in the Jets, because remember, Sam Darnold's still young. Like he may be in year 4. He's only like 23, 24 years old. So he's been in the league for 4 years, but he's dang near Tua's age. Like, let's just consider that here for a second. Like, So at the end of the day, I think if you're both teams, you look at the quarterback situation there. I think you could be happy, if you're a fan of either team. Like, hey, we may have our guys here for the next considerable future, and that's all you need in the NFL, man. That's all you need.
Right. Absolutely.
Wow, he is literally only a year older than I had checked this out. I didn't believe you, Jurg. I know I should have. I had double checked that. Tua's 23, Sam's 24. But
they're close, man.
They're right there. They're right there. I mean, yeah, Sam's been in the league for 4 years already. That's insane. But speaking of insane, we witnessed one of the most insane week 1 Monday Night Football games in quite some time. It was funny because recently I joined a book club. Just fun fact. I want to read more. That's it, Jurg. Don't give me that look, all right? I'm illiterate. As you can see, I struggle to read some stats. I'm trying my best, okay? There's no pictures in the book, I promise. But regardless. So I'm supposed to be reading this book. My girlfriend, she's deep in the book. Shout out to you, baby. Hi, Joe. But regardless, she's deep into the book. And I'm just like, all right, you mind if I finish this game while you're reading the book? She's like, yeah, just keep it low. It got into overtime. I'm still watching. Volume's low. I'm not, being insane. It got to a point where she put the book down. She's watching the game with me because she's just like, what's going on over here? It was intense, but crazier than how crazy the whole aspect of the game is it was a close game, and the Raiders won. That's the craziest part to me.
Yeah.
And everyone in the season, everyone knows what happened. They might even have more than 5 new offensive linemen. They might be like 8 deep now of new offensive linemen. No one knows. But everyone had the Raiders being, if not one of the worst teams, they were going to be the second worst team in the league. So my question to you, Coach, is besides, are the Raiders better than what we thought? Are they can they be contenders? Are they going to be a playoff team? Do they have enough to make a run for a wild card? What do you think, Jurg?
I thought you were going to coach first there.
I think we lost him again.
Okay. So when it comes to Vegas, are they better than what we thought in terms of, are they for sure last in the division, right? Like, I don't think we could say that now anymore. I don't think we can. They showed us that Derek Carr, I never have doubted this, by the way. We've all known Derek Carr to be a talented quarterback. Just the problem is that John Gruden, it feels like there's a vendetta considering he cleared out nearly the entire offensive line from this past season, except for I think it's Colton Miller. And fun fact, Raiders captain, Richie Incognito. Just saying. So when you consider that, like, you're concerned for Derek Carr at times, but he showed poise. Like, he was getting very close to rocked on a couple of these, but he was there. He connected on a lot of these plays. Like, the Raiders for a lot of, and myself included, for giving them a lot of grief in the offseason, they're not definitively like one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't think we can say that about them. I think they are. There's levels to it, and they are a step or two above all the quote unquote really bad teams in the league. But can they be a playoff team? I don't see it. I just really don't see it from them because they're the third best team in this division, in my opinion. Obviously the Chiefs, and I have the Chargers over them. But third best team in the division, like, I know there's an extra wild card from now on, but I look at every other division. The AFC East has 3 playoff caliber teams. The AFC North has minimum 1, maybe 2, depending on how Pittsburgh and Baltimore play out. And the AFC South, even if they only have 1, like, still pretty good. So, and all things considered, the Colts, with all the injuries they had going into week 1. So just at the end of the day, like, are the Raiders the worst team in the league? No. No. But are they a playoff team? No.
What about you, Coach? What's your analysis of the Raiders after that insane Monday night game?
I think it's just one of the things where I think they just got lucky. I mean, you just look at the situation of the 2 fumbles that the critical.
Could have lost the connection. God. It's electric out here.
I'll say this right now. Yeah, right? All the electricity is still in Vegas. We can't get any of it in NY right now. No, hey, first off, thank you, Coach, like, for calling it as it is. Like, yeah, it was a crazy game, but the Raiders got a little bit lucky there.
They did get a little. Nah, they got a lot of bit lucky, if we're being honest. But
let's also, like, before the game, by the way, like, even if forget the actual action in the game, the injuries, like, all the injuries Baltimore's dealt with. Coach, you're back. Continue.
Yeah. And I think, and you look at this team, and, like, honestly, the way things have went, Baltimore should have just closed this team out because they was up 14-0, and they let the Raiders come back. And then, like you said, Derek Carr had a great game. Like, I mean, he had 420 some passing yards. I think it was like 423. If my memory
I think
right. Some of that. I think he leads league. Yeah, he leads league in it. But this is the typical Raiders thing where it's just like, what kills me about the Raiders is. And that's what kind of scares me down the road because they do good in, like, this part of the season, September, October, November. But then, like, for some bizarre reason, something about December, it's just like they just can't get it done. And it's it's the most weirdest thing because I remember, like, just like last year, they had a chance to win to make the playoffs, and they lost remember they played the Dolphins on a Saturday night game.
Mm-hmm.
And a freakish play by Mac Hollins, University of North Carolina, and that beats that, and they lose in that fashion.
Was that also the same game with the Fitzpatrick play as well? That crazy.
Yes. The one where he, like, kind of twirled around and did like this and, like, yeah, that's it. And you think to yourself, like, I can't take this team serious.
Just to for the people out there, it was 435 yards that Derek Carr had that game with 89.5 passer rating. I believe that's an amazing passer rating. Just throwing that out there.
It's pretty good.
My favorite part about Coach talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick is he did a whole chair rotation to show how crazy the play was.
For everyone that listens on podcasts, we appreciate you listening on the pod, but please watch the show live as well whenever we get someone like Coach on, because Coach is theatric with it. Coach knows he's got to give the people a show when they're watching live.
What is going on? I want to see if I'm back.
What's going on with the internet? No worries, Coach. No worries. But it was, in case you didn't hear me, Derek Carr had 435 yards.
Okay, yeah. That's my dyslexia. because they had 423.
Yeah, I'm right with you there, Coach.
That's a fun fact.
So let's try squeeze in one more question before we lose you again. So last but not least, you can go ahead and start off, Coach. Out of all the games that we had this week, and all of them were amazing and explosive, except for a few blowouts, what team surprised you the most? And who, like, out of all the teams, because there was a handful that surprised us, out of all the teams, who looked the most serious? Who looked like they actually are going to make a push this year and be way better than we thought? So essentially, your dark horse contender after week 1.
So shout out to the West Coast. We had 4 teams in week 1 that
both divisions.
In both divisions, a 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, a 10 a.m. body clock game for these players, and they went out and won. And the one that really stood out to me was the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals was a team that I deemed as a dark horse. I would have never thought in a million years they would actually go to Tennessee and win by 25. And this game wasn't even close. Like this game was just like 17-0 right at halftime, before halftime. It got ugly real fast. And then you see that just with Kyler Murray, the explosions, like you said, just what he's doing. And then Chandler Jones gets 5 sacks. And I'm thinking, and so you're thinking this, and I was the first one that was critical of why you getting like old veteran guys like JJ Watt and getting these guys. You only gonna get those guys if you're competing and you're contending for a Super Bowl. Like so I'm thinking to myself, Arizona just a middle of the pack 9-8 team or 10-7 or what have you team. But the way they stopped that Tennessee team, and people always say, well, they stacked the box against Derrick Henry. Everybody stacked the box against Derrick Henry, and he still get 150 yards plus. That man had 200. That man had 2,000 yards last year, and he got what 50 something. It was some of that nature. It was 58 yards. Yeah, 58 yards. And you think to yourself, and remember, we got to think about the Tennessee Titans team. We were like, oh, they're going to be the ground and pound and the aerial offensive juggernaut because of the simple fact that A.J. Brown on one side and you got Julio Jones. We looked at that duo plus with King Henry as, oh, my God. And I used to say they'll have defensive coordinators up at night. And I don't think Arizona lost a lick of sleep Saturday night. And Arizona, if they stay healthy, they might be the second best team in the West potentially. But it's scary. It's scary that West, the NFC West. It's gonna be an impressive division. I'm telling those matchups. I mean, we literally gonna have a left coast bias in the NFL this year.
Yeah, I find it kind of crazy. The West Coast has just been taking over in all sports because you got the West and the MLB too going with the 3 San Francisco Giants, Dodgers, and the Padres. But yeah, I think the Cardinals definitely surprised me because it was you figured they were going to be a good team, but like you said, them signing all these veterans, it's like you make that for like a push. But maybe that was exactly what they needed because they were a very young team last year with a young quarterback, and they brought in these veterans. Maybe they're showing them how to win, like kind of like Tom Brady, but obviously not to the extent of Tom Brady because there are a bunch of young guys. Jurg mentioned Andy Isabella, Rondell Moore. You have Kyler Murray, as I said. So the fact you bring into the locker room, show them how to be a professional, that was something that was really impressive. And you clearly see the change. And I remember seeing those 5 sacks on the ticker for Chandler Jones. I couldn't believe it. I was like, nah, that has to be an error. I'm like, 5? Right. I'm like, 5? 5? There's people who don't even get 5 in their entire season. This man got it in the first game of the week. Yeah. But for my surprise team, they weren't as big a surprise, but I was surprised by how they contended, and it makes me believe that they actually do have a chance at a Super Bowl this year, and that is the Cleveland Browns. They did lose this week, but they had the lead for most of the game until Patrick Mahomes decided to be Patrick Mahomes, And Baker didn't look his best, but that's kind of what makes this kind of looking great because it took a minute for him to get into rhythm as, of course, any NFL quarterback in week 1. But this defense and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, everybody else just looked in sync and it looks perfect. And that's exactly what you need for Baker Mayfield to carry your team to a Super Bowl. And the fact that they were able to keep up with the Chiefs shows me that last year the playoffs wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just because, Kansas City had all these injuries and whatnot. No, it's that the Cleveland Browns have been making a pull for it. And I said it even before Baker got drafted, that they were going to win a Super Bowl in 7 years. I think I'm at year 5 of that bet. So I got 2 more years. Fingers crossed.
Well, I think technically you have 3 more if it's year 5, 5, 6, 7. So you got 3 years, I think.
This year is year 5. Yeah, you're right. I'm feeling confident.
Okay.
And you think about it, they're a muff punt away from winning this football game, because think about that last scoring drive, they were like at the red zone.
Yep, for sure.
Remember that punt in the fourth. So you think to yourself, they're right there, like you said. And Baker didn't even he had an R8 game, but but they was getting gashed, like running. They was destroying that run defense in Kansas City.
And my favorite part about this is they're showing that yes, they're going to use Kareem Hunt as a weapon, but Nick Chubb is that workhorse, and he's going to be the one to help this offense move and keep going. And that man, he's a beast.
The Browns are also a player or 2 away back in the playoff game from winning it as well. Like the Browns, the last 2 times they've played the Kansas City Chiefs, they've played them to 1-possession games. Like that is outstanding for the Cleveland Browns. Like in terms of confidence, if you ever have to face them again, like the Browns, I think to a lot of people, despite an 0-1 start, like this is the kind of start that gives you confidence of what this team could be. All they need is that consistency. If they get consistent, they will firmly be in the playoffs. And with all the injuries to Baltimore, and with some people thinking that Pittsburgh, this may finally be the year where they take a step down, Browns might win the division. So all things considered there, like congrats Cleveland if that is the case. I'm going to stick with the West Coast theme, just like Coach. By the way, with the Arizona Cardinals, like massively impressed by them. I have all 4 NFC West teams making the playoffs for my own personal predictions because I like seeing chaos. And I just think the NFC West, like running the NFC this season, it'd be fun to see. So I have all of them making the playoffs. I'm so happy, by the way, that Arizona beat the Tennessee Titans. I'm just so happy. It was good to see Kyler Murray just running all over them, just torching them up. It was chef's kiss right there. But now
Walker.
For my team now. The Los Angeles Chargers, like I said, keeping it with the West Coast. Yeah. I was honestly pretty impressed by the fact that they didn't falter in that game to Washington. I know Washington lost Fitzpatrick, and I know it wasn't the best offensive game, but that defense was pretty stout. Like Justin Herbert has not had a lot of high yardage and low touchdown games in his career, right? So when you consider that, the fact that the Chargers, they stayed steady, they kept their composure against that Washington front 4 and front 7 overall, and they won that game, like they would have lost that game last year. They would have easily lost that game last season. And this is what we've been talking about, James. Ever since that the first time me and James ever did a show together, we both said Brendan Staley is going to make a difference for the Los Angeles Chargers. Yep. And I think we're seeing early on some of the difference. I think we really are because, and as my guy Mo has me with the name this week. But when it comes to it, I think this Chargers team, there's a little bit of a difference here when it comes to how they're run, how they view everything. Like you said time after time, James, he's a defensive coach, but he's played quarterback. He sees what Justin Herbert sees. And the fact that they didn't completely, fall off a cliff at the end of the game, there wasn't a terrible mistake. They didn't make a mistake with penalties or timeouts overall. Like they kept the game and they won that game. And that's something that this Chargers team needs to do. So I was just thoroughly impressed by that. And hey, I got to give him credit because I said they should have cut him in the offseason, but Mike Williams, he had a kind of game to where he needs to show up for Justin Herbert more. And that's one of the games that you need of him, He's not going to have it every single time, but Mike Williams should at minimum be a red zone threat for Justin Herbert. With how good Justin Herbert is, when the Chargers go down to the red zone, it's a tall quarterback thrown to a tall, muscly wide receiver. Like that connection should be natural. And if those things can click for the Chargers this season, they're going to be pretty dangerous. They're going to be a sneaky 6-7 seed in the playoffs, just like the Cardinals. So the West is just running things in the NFL right as of week 1, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, and like you said, the Chargers now know how to win football games, and that's been their Achilles heel. And and shout out to their former coach,
Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn, thank you. I was struggling trying to remember that too. I'm over here like it's not Vance Joseph, it's not, but yes, Anthony Lynn. I actually was a big enemy of Anthony Lynn last year because Coach, you've been there where I've said it. You would see him make decisions offensively that would just. My favorite thing to backtrack to is that game where he picked. You always remember when I mentioned it, Coach, where it was. They had 0 timeouts. They're at like the 20-yard line, and he called like 3 runs straight in a row. It's like
I remember that. Yes. We were very critical of that.
The fact he wasn't fired right after that game, it just
Amazing.
It really tells me like sometimes these executives are a little bit too nice. Because if I was Tom Telesco is the Chargers executive, a very smart guy, learned under Ballard and Poley in Indianapolis. Yep. Like the fact that he did not fire Lynn right after that game, like that just shows he's like a good dude. Like I will wait until the final week. It's like if it was me, I wouldn't have let him go back in the locker room. His card would have stopped working to the team facility the very next day. Like that. How? We're moving on from that. I want to backtrack. I don't want to rant it. But I'm just saying, like the Chargers, they have a coach now. They really do have a great coach now, and they have a chance to win these games and not always be down. Because you mentioned Anthony Lynn, guys. Look at Phillip Rivers' tenure. The summary of Phillip Rivers' career is being down in the fourth quarter by a touchdown with 2 minutes to go in the game, and something breaks wrong for the Chargers half the time.
Yep.
Well, nothing broke wrong here for today's show because we are amazing and we make the best decisions. But unfortunately, it's that time, guys. We have to wrap it up. As always, thank you for joining us. But of course, Coach, let the people know where they can catch you because just like James Brown, you're the hardest working man in the business, so let them know.
Definitely appreciate it, fellas. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram under Couch Coach Live. Check out the podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and also check out our YouTube page, Couch Coach Live.
Shout out the merch too, Coach. You rocking the sweater. Let them know where to cop one of those.
Yes. Go on to Teespring, Couch Coach Live, and we got something there for you.
Jurg, we got to talk after the show. One, we got to buy a sweater from Coach, and 2, we got to start making our own swag or something. We're slacking out here. But as always, Coach, thank you for coming by. We will have you again, of course, because who doesn't love Salt and Pepper Gang? Make sure, guys, to see him. If you're a Washington football fan or if you just want to go on there and start throwing some nasty comments, I support it. I'm kidding. Don't do it. But
like Kenneth, don't be.
See, we got he's a serial bad commenter over here. See, he does it multiple times. He doesn't. It's not just our show. He goes to every show he can.
Correct.
But regardless, go check him and Cruz out on Washington Football, guys, on every Friday at, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, 8 p.m.?
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yep.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And see you Sunday, the hottest, the best, the greatest show you can ever watch before your Sunday. They talk it all. They get the whole league covered. We had to run it quick here. No. You got the best in the business breaking it down for you. Who else do you want besides Couch Coach?
And don't forget, James, Overreaction Mondays following the NFL Sundays.
Monday, yeah.
This man doesn't even have time for his family. I'm surprised he had time for us today, Jurg. But as always, thank you, Coach, for joining us. Guys, you know where to follow us.
Appreciate
Me, Barnes Talks on Twitter, Jurg K40 on Twitter. Please, we are three followers. 1, 2, 3 from hitting 100 on the Bunts and Bruises podcast. Okay. I started tweeting on it today. It's going to be more like today. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fireworks. But besides that, make sure you follow us, like Coach said, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, all the good stuff. 5 stars, like, review. Please, because when you guys do that for us, not only do we love it, it makes us feel special, but it also helps bring us to other ears. So thank you once again, guys, for tuning in. Now on the new Wednesday, 7 p.m. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Yeah.